at the 15. He's on his feet. 10, 5, touchdown.
The Jake Nulph Show.
Go Burrow.
Welcome to the 2023 debut of the Jake Nulph Show. We are ready to rock and roll. Preseason, we got a good show coming your way. Offense coordinator Rich DeMaio and the guy with the best hair in the PSAC West, Tony Papley, the DC, will be joining us as well. Jake, eye rolls me. Hey, some guys have the looks, some guys get the hair, and now you have a beard.
It's a good thing that you got a face for radio.
Hey. But anyway, we are pumped. Get ready for Duquesne. Get ready for the season. Coach, let's just start from scratch.
Sure.
Talking to Coach Papley, I got 15 guys on my two deep that have started games.
Yeah.
You guys are hopefully, literally, and figuratively a year older. A lot of young bucks played a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
And valuable minutes. So I want to start with this. Do you look at last year to this year as building blocks or focal points? Because, sometimes building blocks, you can overload on the good and then you kind of ignore what happened in the bad. How do you take all these young guys, as many of them go into year two? Is it just building blocks, or is each a focal point, good and bad, that then become something that you learn from?
Well, I think that's honestly, Joe, it's a loaded question because we could probably explain both sides of that. The fortunate part is, as you mentioned, we got a lot of guys, a lot of reps in 2022, and on not just defense, on offense as well. And so that continuity carried over into spring. And then when we arrived here in August, this is the first year that I can honestly say, Joe, when we left here in April and came back in August, we didn't miss a beat. And that's the first time heading into my third season here that we can say that confidently. I really like where our group is. It's a veteran group as far as experience, but when you look at us on paper, we still don't have a whole lot of seniors. Now, we're loaded junior, sophomore, and then we have a couple freshmen that we're expecting to make an impact. But I really like the balance that the 2022 season with the building blocks helped us prepare because, we look at the things that happened last year. And, I know the questions coming from you at the end, 2 reasons why we win, 2 reasons why we lose. But for us, the point of emphasis, and this is no secret, I've been telling everybody this all preseason, the fact is we won 5 games last year and turned the ball over 33 times. And that doesn't happen too often. If I told you that stat, hey, Joe, look, we're going to turn the ball over 3 times a game.
Probably not 5 and 6.
Exactly. And, and the crazy thing is we took the ball away 22 times. We were second in the PSAC in takeaways. So if we can continue to take the football away at a high level and cut the turnover down in half even, we're going to be that much significantly better. And I'm sure Rich and Tony, when they come up here and talk to you about it, that was really fun to watch the chess match in camp with the lack of turnovers that we were on offense. We did a great job protecting the football, I thought, all training camp. And then the defense's tenacity just to try to get theirs really made camp competitive. And, as we dissect the roster between offense, defense, and special teams, you're going to see that we got a lot of guys back in key roles, and we got some guys back on this roster that didn't play in 2022, but were some serious contributors in 21 that we're really excited to roll with in 23.
Now, I'm curious because you're going into year 3, but let's be honest, the first 18 months of your head coaching career kind of don't count because they weren't normal.
Yeah.
Now we are going into a normal. You mentioned spring ball. You said you didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Perspective-wise, let's rewind the clock back 12 months. How much further ahead of schedule are you now than you were 12 months ago?
Honestly, we are significantly better in all 3 phases.
And I say that if LeBron's bubble title doesn't count, your first 18 months.
I will. Hey, look, I feel like that prepared us to get to where we're at right now, year 3, because, we have a lot of guys in that first class here, the Clay Cunninghams, et cetera, that are redshirt juniors and have been in the program since our start, which has helped tremendously from our culture standpoint. I addressed the football team literally the Monday after we played Lock Haven, Joe, and told them that if we expect to take the next step in the 2023 season, it's got to start today. And our guys took that challenge. We are physically better. We are stronger. We are faster. We have a lot more miles on our tires, and we're poised to really have a special season. Our guys believe that. We're excited about the opportunity that the PSAC schedule itself presents and all of its challenges. But this is a veteran group, and if you look at our two deep, and you even mentioned this to me, Joe, off of the airs, we just look different, and that's a good thing. We're starting to pass the eye test, and all of the strength numbers went up significantly. Our guys, like I said, we put the time in off of the field to get ready for this moment and where we're at.
Let me ask you this, because when you and I jokingly go back to all the youngsters, but when you got a lot of youngsters, it's kind of hard to generate real competition. A lot of it's kind of token competition. But now you've got guys that you mentioned, miles on the time. You do have guys that have some experience, so it's not token competition.
No.
These guys are now well aware. I mean, there's a lot of guys that, no, you don't. This is a grind. This is big boy football, and now all those guys have another year. Can we talk about how that is going to help further along the program? Because now you have guys that are going into 2-3 years of experience, whereas you had a freshman class there for a while that there wasn't a whole lot of experience in terms of what this grind is.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that we learned about our group in the 2 seasons of playing here is that we're a resilient group. And we always talk about, sometimes you learn a lot about yourself in the loss and not a win. Sometimes winning masks a lot of issues. And we have been in one possession wars in the 2 years in my tenure here at Edinboro. So that's the thing where I'm getting from Craig. I think it was 7 one possession football games. And that, when you go through those experiences, whether it's overtime, whether it's 2-minute situations, we always try to build on that. And the experience that not just the starting 11, quote unquote, but the depth in our 2 deep have gone through the last 2 seasons. That's the experience of playing game action in football is something that can't be replicated. It can only, we call it iron versus iron, right? We sharpen 1 versus 1s in practice to try to generate the size, the speed of our opponent. But game reps ultimately cannot be replaced, and that's where I think our group now, heading into year 3, we're just light years above because of we've been in those games.
I'm curious, because I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Do you gain more valuable teaching experience from wins or losses? Which is the see I told you so, my way works that? Which is the one, or is it a 50-50 mix?
Well, I think it all depends on the lesson. Like I said, I've been a part of programs where you win and you get a false sense of things that you're putting on tape, and then ultimately when you play a really good opponent, they expose you, and it masks those issues. Where sometimes the losses, they focus you in on the things that need corrected, and ultimately, look, the film's never as good, it's never as bad. It's going to come down to a half dozen to a dozen plays that are going to decide a football game, but I think I can pull from both sides of my 19 years of coaching experience in college, and probably say that there are some times with wins, but most of the time it's because of the losses where you find out a lot about yourself because you got to look in the mirror and you got to go back to the drawing board and reload. And the 1 possession games that we lost in my first year in 2021, we went ahead last year and we were much better in 1 possession games. So I feel like those losses helped us benefit for the wins, where now, look, the experience of our group, Joe, the culture of our group, the guys' ability to work. We understand that we just can't show up Saturday and expect to win football games. It starts on Monday, the prep, the practice, the mental, the film, the whole picture of everything. We're not taking any shortcuts, and we have a group of young men here at Edinboro that appreciate that grind.
I want to ask you before we kick you out and get Coach Papley and Coach DeMaio up here, and then you'll come back, obviously, and get us ready for Duquesne.
Sure.
But when you talk about that, do you find now in year 2 that it's a lot easier to sell that because there's another class now that has that experience where you're not, it's the 2. No, it's
right.
It's a lot because now there's 3 classes that know you're not just selling them something. They believe it because they've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to your point there, with the experiences we've gone through, and it gets back to our culture, Joe. We have an extremely strong culture here at Edinboro, and what I mean by that is our guys are not afraid to work. Whether it's in the weight room, whether it's on the field, we know when it's time to go, we go, and we know when it's time to unplug, we unplug, and that's a credit to our kids and our coaching staff. You know, the message is always a consistent message, literally from me all the way down to the players, and then from the players all the way up to me. That is one thing where consistency in heading into year 3 is something with the game experience. The constant message and the things that we philosophically believe in is proof in the pudding.
All right, segment 1 in the books. Coach Rich DeMaio, the offense coordinator, is going to jump on with us next. More with the Jake Nulph Show, as we will have a permanent home. It's not here, but you'll see in the weeks to come. But more with Coach Rich DeMaio when we come back.
At the 15, he's on his feet. 10, 5, touchdown!
More with the Jake Nulph Show.
Go Burrow.
1. All right, Rich DeMaio, the offensive coordinator, joining us. Now, we've got a lot to get to, Rich. But first, I've gotten wind that there is a passing record that you have that you may or may not own, and I'm not going to question your integrity, but I may question your play calling late in the game if a quarterback is throwing it all over the lot. What's the deal with this?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was 2003, and it was 444 yards, set the Art Rooney field record, and I would absolutely love to destroy that record as a coach.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool if your quarterback.
Yes, that would
and we will get to your quarterback. I'm gonna. In many respects, like I always joke with you, you and I are in the idiot business.
Right.
You know, you're an idiot. Didn't work.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Didn't work. In your experience, other than a victory formation, how many plays have you ever called in your career that were not designed to score a touchdown?
0.
Okay. All right. So let's get that out there. Now, the youth.
Yes.
And we're not going to we're not going to individually pick on anybody. But week 1 this year versus last year, how many more pages do you feel that you can use in your playbook?
It's funny you said that. I literally just told the guys today that, going into this game, I feel more comfortable calling anything that we have in the playbook going forward with this group than I've ever had here at Edinboro. It's been tremendous in camp. The guys, we've had a lot of guys that played a lot of football for us here. And we are a very smart group right now, and we're very explosive. And so we are doing a lot of different things than what we normally have been able to capable of doing. And I'm very excited to kind of show off that on Saturday. It should be fun.
Now, obviously, the elephant in the room. I mean, you know the turnover situation.
Yes.
You can't win that way.
No.
Not that you're doing anything like but how different is that? How clean? I mean, I've been in practice a lot. It seems to be a little bit cleaner. Is that inexperience? Is that, I don't want to say not being prepared, but lack of field experience? How can you account for, now that you've had 9 months to sort of reflect and repeatedly be beaten down with this statistic that obviously is not limited to here? That's going to be a hurdle for any program. Now that you've had time to, have you kind of put your finger on?
Yeah, it was a group effort, including myself. We stressed it this off season. We stressed it in camp. The kids have responded tremendously. The ball has been. We have not had too many, turnovers going here in the spring and in the fall, and the kids have responded perfectly to the situation. And it was a combination of a lot of things, to be honest with you. It wasn't just one group or one situation, but I'll tell you, it was definitely addressed. The kids understood that has to change for us to win. It's very hard not to turn the ball over against Coach Papley's defense. They are fast and they drive the ball, and but we did a really good job in spring and in fall, and it's been addressed. But that was a 2022 group, and I think this group is a lot more mature, and they understand that the ball needs to be in our hands.
Now, you've had a very, very lengthy quarterback competition.
Yes.
And it continues. The old adage, if you don't have a quarterback, you stink. And the other adage is, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback. What, obviously within reason, what can you got Matt Carlisle, Ike's back. Both certainly have their upsides. Both certainly have their downsides. Without giving too much of the secret sauce away, can you kind of give us an update on the quarterback situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, Isaac, we told after the season last year that, the competition, we need to get him more competition, and he responded beautifully to that. Matt came in and really is you could tell he's an upperclassman. He knows what he's doing. They both are two completely different players.
Yes.
To be honest with you. They both do a lot of good things, and they have some strengths and weaknesses. So depending on which guy we go with, we're going to have to tailor the game plan about what they do very well. And it's been very lengthy, and I cannot wait to get to Saturday to actually – all right, someone's got to go here.
And I will say this, with the amount of time that I spent, I think that – I know what I think, but what I think doesn't matter. I kind of feel as if eventually will figure it out before Saturday. I don't think that's going to be your decision to make.
Yeah, no. So someone has to take the reins.
Yeah,
someone has to, and they like I said, they both do it kind of in their own way. But someone has to take the reins, the leadership role. The QB is the number one spot, so if you don't have him, you're not going to go very far. But they've both done a really good job so far. Good job.
Now, I was criticized for saying something on the PSAC preview show on WSEE. I did not compare the running backs to Walter Fletcher. I said for the first time since Walter Fletcher, there is a home run hitter. Yeah, there's actually 2 home run hitters, maybe 3 home run hitters. Mikey Flowers has really dramatically improved. Torbell is twitchy, and Jerry Dinkins going to be a hard time tackling him in a phone booth. Kid's phone booth. Back in the day, there was a pay phone in the corner, glass thing, real small. That's what a phone booth is. But I mean, you've got some pop in the backfield, which is, like I said, been a long time since that's been there.
It's very electric back there. There's been some times in the camp where we should be dead to rights, and boom, they make a person miss and they're out. I mean, they're gone, and that's something that we really haven't had here past couple of years. But it's very exciting to hand the ball off to those guys and kind of watch them work. And I'm gonna tell you something, they're also very, very smart. Trouble came in as a transfer, and this he's only been on our offense for 2 weeks, and he knows everything. Mike's been here for three and a half years now, and obviously he knows everything. And Jerry's another freshman where he's a guy that comes from Florida, in a high school where football's number one, and he takes everything and just runs with it, man. It's really good to see all 3 of those guys. Barlini again is another tough runner who mucks it up in there, and another smart kid. And that group is one of our better groups right now. Yeah, they're special. They do a lot of good things. We're just trying to figure out ways how not to screw it up.
Now, in terms of where it matters the most, gets the least amount of attention, that would be the offensive line. Sort of like the long snapper. Everybody takes the long snapper for granted until the ball starts flying over the punter's head. Then you have a different conversation. That group's another year older.
Yep.
There's a lot of experience. I mean, I think maybe the expectations are changing a little bit. That it's not going to be the young kids. It's going to be your guys starting to win at the point of attack a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 guys that have now played. This will be the 3rd year starting for us, with Nate Ribis and Gabe, and then we have a couple guys that have played a lot of football for us. Jaden Kennedy, got some young guys in there. D-Mac and Jadon Brown and Joey Wankstrom, and those guys are big physical dudes. And
babies too.
And babies too. So they're getting after it. They want to showcase what they can do. The biggest thing with the offensive line, as is they got to work together.
Yes.
So having Gabe and Nate and those guys be able to communicate with the younger group, it's been fun to watch. There's obviously, we stress, if you're going to make a mistake, make it at 1,000 miles an hour, and it's going to happen. It is what it is, but those guys, they're putting together right now, and Coach Hall has done a tremendous job with them, of course, and he's got them rolling. So I want to, as long as they can, do what they got to do, those backs are going to make people miss, and we'll have a better rushing attack than what we've had here.
And then there's the vocal minority, the wide receivers. They do a lot of talking. But But they do. They back it up.
Yeah.
Now you don't have a Megatron. You don't have a Megatron,
no.
but you got a couple of Tyreek Hills that in space.
Yeah, man. They're receivers. I mean, they are who they are. Like, they're.
Why is that?
It's
how much time do we got? You want to do the DNA?
it's everywhere. I mean, it's the position, and I get it. Like if they're doing their job and they're getting open and they get frustrated because they're not getting the ball. I get it sometimes, but you have three guys that have started. Thad started since day one basically, and Armani and Mike kind of that first freshman year. They came in sporadically in the first half of the year, and then they ended up starting toward the latter half of the year. They've played a ton of football, and we got some young kids too that they're pushing them, and they really are. Those three know they can't take their foot off the gas because they're going to get they're getting pushed every day by the young Thundercats, I call them. So that group is very quick, very fast, explosive. Again, I can't stress enough that how smart they are. This group is very smart. And we can move them around, to any spots in any formations, and they're going to know what to do.
We didn't even get to maybe the most vocal, our boy Aaron Hopkins, but also maybe the most underrated tight end in the league. Yeah. You got a tight end room that's very flexible.
Yeah, Jack, Hop, and Brody, they've, again, played a lot of football for us. It's funny, each one of them have kind of started throughout their 10 years here at certain different points. And, Hop is a guy that, you want to find ways to get, his hand on the ball unconventionally. You can move him around. Jack catches everything. He's a pretty physical kid. He catches literally everything. We call him an extra tackle in there.
He is.
He's not a
that's
little guy.
That's earned.
Brody, again, is he's played a ton of football for us. He knows everything. So a lot of those sets, man, those guys can intermix, and we can bump out one of them, to some slot and some outside stuff too. But they've again, they know the competition is in the room. It's a very good room, and they've worked tremendously hard, this offseason too, and they've come back. Jack was academically knowledgeable last year, and he just worked on his blocking, all fall last year.
And was around every day, too.
Every day.
Yeah.
And, he did a great job for us to scout last year, and he's back, and, he's rolling. And those are also guys that, everybody likes. Everybody likes tight ends. They're goofy guys. They're funny guys. They're, fun to be around. And it's also, moving those guys, the piece parts, like I said, it's been very fun for me this camp. I've had the most fun, this year than I've had in a long time, being able to kind of piece part some things.
Now, final question and similarities. Offense coordinators a lot like backup quarterback. Everybody thinking the next. We addressed the turnovers. You and Matt Canada have one thing in common: lack of chunk plays.
Yes.
So what's we talked about all the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't think the lack of talent's going to be excuse. Now it's an execution, right?
We got to execute. A lot of those shot plays, what have you.
So what's your definition? What's every OC is different. What's your definition?
Like for explosive plays, you're looking at runs over 15 and passes over 18.
Okay.
You're not really. Some things just happen as it comes, but the shot plays we're trying to push the ball downfield. There was a lot of things that decision making or protection or route running, stuff like that. That wasn't.
And let me clarify: how much when you can't do that for extended period, how much more difficult does the play calling become as a result of that?
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. You feel like you get locked in a box and you're playing, football. You kind of it's not good when you're not executing big time plays. And it's all good to dink and dunk, but you got to take the top off, when you can. And we just did not do that last year, and that's something that explosive plays, turnovers were stressed. And, the running back situation has helped that out a lot this camp. And we've been able to push the ball downfield a little bit more this camp too. So it's been good so far.
Well, certainly looking forward to seeing if you can get one of those guys to break your passing record.
Let's do it.
That's the goal. All right, quick timeout. We come back. Our good buddy, best hair in the PSAC. Hope this headset doesn't mess it up. Tony Papley is going to join us. It's the Jake Nulph Show. Back with more right after this.
At the 15, he's on his feet. 10, 5, touchdown!
The Jake Nulph Show.
Go Burrow.
You thought I was kidding. Look at the hair on defense coordinator Tony Papley.
I appreciate the compliment, Joe.
Looking good, buddy.
No, I appreciate
I tell you what. You've got some expectation. You've got we talked about it. 15 guys back.
Yep.
Got all conference caliber players at all three levels. Sacks, turnovers. You did all the things right last year. How do you make sure you take all the positive from last year, roll it into this year?
Well, there was extreme positive last year. The biggest thing coming into this year is just we do have a lot of guys coming back. Like you said, 15 guys returning that played for us. We have 2 transfers that played a lot of football, too, at other places. The biggest thing is just getting to be a full, complete defense. We were 15th in the PSAC and rush defense last year, which bottom of the barrel. We got to be able to stop the run. So, yeah, we did take the ball away last year, but we didn't get to the quarterback as much as we need to. So some of those turnovers were big opportunities for us to get off the field. But I think a year in the system, another year, our guys are really excited. They're chomping at the bit. They have done an extreme job, like Coach Nulph said, from January till now. This season started in January in the weight room. We had over 50 guys improve in all 3 core lifts. It's going to really be a testament on Saturday, and the whole season is all the work these guys have put in. We got a lot of guys that did a lot of good things this offseason.
Now, Coach Papley, you talk about you've gotten better. Obviously, you spend time in the film room. Well,
Yep.
People are in the film room watching you.
Sure.
And as you've gotten, due to injury or transfer or return, you've gotten a lot of new pieces now where, you and I have talked about that. You could run a variety of fronts. You could do you could put guys in different places.
Sure.
So, obviously, you've got to have some evolution in your play calling now that you've got probably more pieces to even play with.
There's no question. And, the one thing, just talking through the last couple of weeks of training camps, the group is, our defense year 1 was a little bit tailored to what our type of guys were. Year 2, we were a little younger up front, so there's only so much we could do to try and help those guys up front. And now this year, kind of year 3, we feel that there's a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. So being multiple is a big part of our DNA. We're going to try and use different fronts, be very multiple against, the 11, the 10 personnel. And the biggest thing is just really putting our guys in position to make plays. I always tell them I don't want to mess them up. I want to put them in position, and then they got to go let their talent shine.
Now, maybe literally and figuratively, the biggest acquisition would be Jahan Dugan in the middle of that
True.
defensive line.
Yep.
That, the lack of the war daddy was a conversation we had a lot last year. You don't really have that excuse this year. He is a monster of a human being, the only 330-pounder I've ever thought looked skinny. He is just a gigantic dude. How much different can you be? How much different can that defense be that you now legitimately have a D-tackle? I'm going to say legitimately. I mean the specs,
Sure.
the measurables of a D-tackle, instead of trying to, kick around Ty Thornton and get creative to sort of mask that lack of size.
Sure, Jayon's a great addition, and we're very excited to have him back. Him, Ty Thornton, the Braden Dunmeyers, the Caden Spiegels.
Caden Spiegel, by the way, looks huge.
Yeah.
How many pounds did he put on in the offseason?
He put on 10. These guys have all put in a lot of really good work in the offseason. And, the interior of the defensive line was where we were young. Right now, even looking at it, you got a couple sophomores on that line with Dunmeyer and Spiegel, but those guys have played a lot of football for us. And we're going to be as good as our front will allow us. I tell those guys, I challenge them, that being the area that I played and expect the highest standard for, is those guys are going to be how far we go. As they work, it'll really help
maybe
us.
Not necessarily against Duquesne, but in a PSAC West, street fight, how many D linemen do you anticipate playing?
It's a good question. We could play anywhere from 4, but I feel like our 2 deep is very strong. There's some guys that are even on that third group that have played and that can compete. So anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8, depending on how we going. Carson Pacheco, our new D-line coach, he's done a tremendous job getting those guys to buy into the culture. And you got like Avery Ennis, who made some big plays for us last year, started a lot of games for us. He's right now kind of, as a rotational guy, because Ty and Caden are playing at a really good level, but, he'll play a ton. You got Anthony Gentile will play. Landon Chalmers, the only freshman on that D-line that's kind of in that 2 deep. And then Jared McCray, really rounds out that top 2 deep. And those guys have done really good things for us.
Now, your linebackers have become statistical stat stuffers.
Yep.
But unfortunately for you, your linebackers seem to get hurt a lot.
Sure.
Last year was terrible. I mean, there was a new group, I feel like, out.
Yep.
Clay, Malpica, all those guys that were real integral parts. CJ,
Yeah.
Are they all good to go, ready to go? And what's that group now look like as a result? Obviously, Clay getting injured late.
Right.
Nobody got a lot of time as a result, but CJ and Malpica got hurt pretty early in the year.
Right.
What's that group look like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable with those 2 deep as well. You got Zach and Clay who are working through the Mike position. You got CJ and Killing Cooper, who's the oldest guy on the team right now. He's a graduate student, so he's backing up the will. And then, kind of our linebacker that plays the field, Wilfredo Diaz. He's kind of filling into that position there in the front with Tristan Waldeer as another guy to come in. And I feel really, really excited about that. I mean, I told this staff and this group, we have had the most competitive fall camp that we've had since we've been here. There is legitimate competition with your 1s and your 2s as far as who's going to be a starter this day or that day, depending on who's playing well. And we will go through the season that way as well, and we'll need them all. We will not leave anybody short. If they deserve to play, they'll be on the field.
Now, is it more or less difficult when you've got a multitude of guys to sell them, I just need more out of you in fewer snaps? Like, if I know you're used to playing X amount of snaps, but imagine how much better you'll be and how much more opportunity will present itself if you play, 2/3 of those snaps instead. Is it a problem to have all that depth? Because everybody wants to get theirs, right?
Sure.
I mean, nobody wants to stand there next to you all day
Sure.
long. But
Nope.
What's that like?
Yeah, and it's an interesting process. As a player myself, competitor, of course I want to be on the field every play. And so convincing these guys that it's a team. It's all about the team. I think a lot of the guys understand that, and they've been in that role. I mean, we've played, like I said at the beginning, we've played 15 guys that are on that 2 deep. They've already played. So that's the culture we have. We're big about making sure the guys that make plays, they're going to be on the field. So production's a premium. Doing what you're supposed to do is a premium. So if you're doing those 2 things, you'll stay on the field a lot. Where I'm most excited is to see these guys play. They practice extremely hard. And I'm excited to see him go hit somebody else.
Now, the back end of that defense, in terms of standout, Strizinger gone. I believe that was the only all-conference guy you had back there.
Yep.
Reed Martin has played a lot. Malcolm Johnson's played a lot.
Yep.
You got a new guy, another couple new guys. And again, the quarterback situation around the league is kind of in flux right now because all the finger quote good ones are gone.
Right.
They moved on, but the back
There'll
end.
be good ones still.
I'm just saying, but the household names are the ones that we know. We just don't know who the good ones are yet.
Sure.
Because we don't know their names yet. But what's secondary group coming along like? Reed Martin. I should say Reed was an all-American punter actually.
Yeah.
But a pretty good corner in his own right as well. There is some experience, but there's quite a bit of youth and lack of experience in your program, your system.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned those linebackers. I mean, Clay and Diaz were 1 and 2 in tackles, and number 3 was Malcolm Johnson. And so bringing him back at that boundary safety will be really big. I mean, Reed Martin last year statistically was the highest graded player on our defense from a percentage standpoint. So having him is extremely, extremely attractive for us. The guy that's really, really been the most improved and impressive is Toby Klein. This guy has played football for us in moments. He's made big plays in moments. But this is the year that he's going to step up and do a really big job for us. He's been filling in for Mendocino at that free safety spot, and I'm really excited to see him go. Darius Wise, a transfer corner, he's extremely talented. I think our corner room has 6 guys that can play football for us, and they can play at a high level. And then, you mentioned Ahmad Brown, transfer from St. Anselm. I'm really excited about seeing him play. He has a great energy to him, and I like the energy, and he plays extremely hard. And really, those guys in the back end, they will help us. They will help us in all facets. I mean, we ask them to tackle. We ask them to cover. Those guys, I'm really excited about where they're at.
Now, before we let you get out of here, we talk about the next step.
Yep.
You've put some stats that are out there. Obviously, there's other people that are sitting in offices studying tape 11 hours a day. When you look at what you've got, when you look at what that potential is, I think you probably have the right pieces for the most part. Maybe ultimately lack of size. If you get into a second half battle with IUP where they're just going to try to line up, you only got one Dugan, and maybe that being the exception, this is this is by far and away the most complete defense you've had.
Yeah, here obviously just being year 3, the biggest thing for me though is just coming together as one. We got pieces, and you got these guys that have talent, but being a total defense is about, it's 11 as one. It's 11 hats to the football. It's 11 guys that buy into what we're doing, and really 22 guys. We want as many guys as we can that can contribute and play. I'm excited to see them perform because I've seen what they've put in over the last 8-9 months as far as the work. We'll find out if it's the best or the most complete group. Those are decided on Saturdays.
Now, the people want to know, have you done anything with your 40 time in the off season?
Yeah,
we still can't unsee
film,
that that Mercyhurst film where the side judge had you by 11 yards and you had a 4-yard head start. I know you were a D tackle, but have you done anything so you can put? It's what's on film is what counts, right?
I always tell the guys, and Ty Thornton, our unsung leader at the up front and the whole defense, he always says we put it on tape. So it was on tape. The guys remind me all the time.
It wasn't for lack of effort.
I'll put the effort out there more. I'm going to give it all I got.
Well, I hope that secondary gives you reason to chase, buddy.
That'd be fun.
All right. Jake Nulph's going to come back, get you ready for the Dukes. It's the Jake Nulph Show as we get to season preview of the 23 campaign. Duquesne on the docket next. So's Jake Nulph.
At the 15, he's on his feet. 10, 5, touchdown!
The Jake Nulph Show.
Go Burrow.
Nulph Show. We get you ready for the Duquesne Dukes. Coach is back, but we would be remiss if we did not address the passing of legend, probably not strong enough word, Jim Romanishin. Iconic, I think that's probably a better word. Was unfortunately passed away, I guess last weekend, 71 years old. Certainly a name in Northwest Pennsylvania, Titusville kid. I mean, really a whale of a football player. And certainly the Edinboro community.
Not just here, but in the professional football, the NFL with the Browns, and then it's coaching. So, our thoughts and prayers out to his family and loved ones, and certainly his former teammates here at the Borough. Tough week. Yeah,
certainly a guy that but, you talk about, the father time undefeated, but it's those kind of guys that is the building block that enable you to, continue to go out and do your job with a football program, and certainly – pass along thoughts and best wishes to his family. Irony, maybe? Coach Papley, I believe, are going to be honored pregame.
I don't know when that's happening, but apparently there's some kind of ceremony for the 2018 Northeast Conference champion Sweet 16 run Duquesne Dukes, which Coach Papley and I were a part of that staff.
There's a level to that that's a little on the unique side. Now, Jerry Schmidt, you guys have a similar circle. Obviously, this is not a guy that you're unfamiliar with by any stretch of the imagination. Advantage to the teacher, advantage to the pupil. Have you put any thought into that?
No, I tell you what, though. As far as Jerry Schmidt as a human being and a football coach, and you talk about respect, and I'd consider Coach Schmidt a friend. I mean, we talk pretty regularly, outside of when I worked with him. I got to really get to know Coach Schmidt when I was a defensive coordinator at Westminster College, because him being a Westminster grad, and then the opportunity to work for him. And I learned a lot that year in 2018 that helped prepare me for this job here at Edinboro. He's just a tremendous teacher. That's Coach Schmidt's background, and he'll tell you that. He's very proud of his teaching days, and he's got stories, and there's a lot of respect for not just Coach Schmidt, but that Duquesne staff and how he runs his program, and a lot of guys I consider friends. And in this business, there are good people, and then unfortunately there are the others, and they are in the good people category. And those, whether it's Anthony Doria, Darnell Richardson, Luke Smith, Scott Farrison, I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, I got a ton of respect for those guys because, A, I've worked with them. I know what type of program Coach Schmidt runs. And, you know, for Coach Papp and I to go back down there on the bluff, I mean, my Duquesne ties go all the way back to my playing days at Robert Morris. And you would talk to Coach DeMaio about the 444 yards that he has the record at Rooney Field. And, you know, I was playing in that game. My wife's a Duquesne alumnus. So there's a lot of history there with the Dukes. And, you know, this is an opportunity for our program to go down and step up in class.
All right. Now, in many respects, I mean, outside of the D2 FC, I mean, like, these are sort of apples and oranges. You know, you are reliant on recruiting high school kids. You are reliant on player development.
Yeah.
Whereas at the FCS level, it's kind of, what have you done for me lately? And if there's an opportunity to get a grad transfer, which, I mean, I don't blame them. I'd be doing it too. These
Absolutely.
guys are all coaching for a check.
Absolutely.
It's just the model. But, I mean, this is – we were talking about how much older you are. Well, against that Duquesne roster, you're still the babies.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their roster, I mean, on offense, they've got 6 graduate students and seniors, and then on defense, they have 8. And then if you look at it from a junior standpoint, they got 9 on offense and 9 on defense. Yeah, I mean, it's a veteran group for sure. I know the transfer portal was not –
But not a group that's played together. They just played a lot of
football. And honestly, when you look at their transfers, they do a really good job of getting guys that have played. You know, these aren't individuals that we're just transferring from so-and-so school and just have practice film. These are guys that actually played at the institutions they were in and did a really good job. And, you know, again, and I think that's a credit to Coach Schmidt and his staff on the way they recruit.
Certainly, you know, and again, the FCS model and the D2 model are very, very different.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if the grad transfer route would be a sustainable plan in this league.
Although there are teams that do.
But I don't know. But again, it's in chunks. I don't know if taking that many guys. But then again, how scholarship-wise for the folks that are different, they're what, 50?
50.
And where max here is 36.
Yes.
So that number in and of itself allows you to take more fly. You know, even if you're fully funded, that's a pretty big difference to bring in those new guys. You know, you can't be maxing out all your money on guys that don't have the culture of your program,
right,
because that can get off the rails rather quickly. But Duquesne is a game that Mishler's gone, Lucas is gone. They're
Todd Hill, who's a tremendous player for them on defense.
Yeah, they've lost a lot. So I got to ask, in the film study, I mean, other than conceptually, how do you? I mean, are you watching Missouri film? Are you watching Bethune-Cookman film? Are you watching Stony Brook?
Right.
Like, how do you scheme for this?
Well, I mean, that's the thing with the opening ball game for everybody that's getting ready across college football is, you know, you have the film from the 2022 season, and you scheme-wise, you have an idea, but you have to have the ability on the game. In-game adjustments are going to be huge for us on Saturday down at Duquesne. Is, you know, conceptually they are who they are. You know, their offense and Anthony Doria, they do a great job, and it's got Coach Schmidt's fingerprints all over it. And their defensive coordinator, Mike Craig, is a guy that we're familiar with. I played against Mike in college. We go way back. And you know, he was the defensive coordinator at Cal in 2021, and Mike's had a lot of success there. So scheme-wise, you know, we have a really good idea of what they're going to do. However, that doesn't mean that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that they're smart enough coaches that they're going to play to the strengths of their personnel, and we're going to find out a lot in that first quarter, and, you know, we're going to have to make adjustments and see what exactly they're providing for us to make our counter punches.
Now, is this going to be a football game where you anticipate him throwing it all over the lawn, or do you think they're going to run the football 50-50? What has been the you know, even from your time there? I mean,
yeah,
you know, a Tiger doesn't change his stripes very often.
No, you know, I think ultimately that Duquesne, and I heard Coach Schmidt say this quite a bit this off season, particularly in camp, is they want to play physical football, and I think that there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You know, the thing I can say, and this is a huge compliment to them, and I know from playing against Duquesne football teams and coaching against Duquesne football teams and then working there and now another opportunity to coach against them is their offense is going to make you defend the entire field. They're going to stretch you vertically, horizontally, and everything in between, and we have to be prepared for that.
Now, as you get ready, your football team is preparation-wise, obviously most of the preparation is behind you. Now it's the game plan and focus on the execution, and it's not we got to get in shape or you got to work on a pattern. But where are you? Are you comfortable? Are you good? Or does the fact that you're playing up in week 1, do you sort of take pause on any of those expectations and wait till this time next week?
Look, I can tell you this. We're excited about the opportunity to go down to Duquesne and compete against somebody other than ourselves. I think if you brought any one of our players in here, they'll tell you they're ready for a week 1 opponent. Look, we are going to do what we, as far as coaches, we're going to put our football team in the best chance to win that football game on Saturday. It's an opening ball game. There's going to be adjustments on both sides. I know as a coaching staff and talking to our guys today that we are excited about letting our guys go play football, right? This is an opportunity in week 1 for us to build the continuity to make a run at the PSAC championship, right? So for Edinboro, we've got to go out and we got to play at an extremely fast pace. We've got to fly around. We've got to be physical. And I know the question's coming, Joe, were the 2 reasons you win and 2 reasons you lose.
Pump the brakes.
I mean, we have to do things that are going to give us the best opportunity to win on Saturday.
Now, I can only imagine. We haven't played a football game in how many months?
It's been a while.
You must have a special teams card of fakes and plays that's about this long up your sleeve. You've had how many nights to dial them up?
I'm sure Mickey Jacobs and Jerry Schmidt right now are listening to that because they run the special teams down there.
But, again, camp, final wrap-up on camp. I think by and large, you're pretty good, pretty healthy, pretty.
Yeah, that is one thing I can say, Joe, is we got out of camp healthy. We are. I talked to our football team about this today. Is we had a physical camp. I mean, look, we get after it. We go live. We tackle. Football's meant to be played the right way, and we are starting to peak right now. And literally, our last 3 practices have been our best. So from day 1 all the way to now, even today on a Monday where we're just in helmets flying around, I thought our guys were extremely focused. We're ready for week 1. And you're right. We got out of camp healthy. We've got guys that have 3 years of experience on our roster. Let's go out and play some football.
All right. You've touched it already. You got to give the people what they want.
Yeah. Year 2 doing this now.
Yeah, 2 reasons you win, 2 reasons you lose.
And I think it's the same literally for reasons why we win and lose. It's going to come down to big plays and turnovers on both sides, whether we win or lose. We cannot give up big plays against that Duquesne offense, and we can certainly not give them extra possessions. So we have to take care of the football, and we got to hit some splash plays and not allow them to do that. And we have to steal possessions to give our offense the opportunity to clearly score more points than they can. And that's been, if you look back last year, I mean, that's going to be true to us. We've preached for coming up on a year now about the ability to take care of the football. Well, now we've got to go out and do it, and we got to try to take it away.
I do want to come back to that because we sort of started with that and we touched on it with Rich.
Yeah.
When you look at the situation of the turnovers.
Yeah.
That's here. Lack of chunk plays is right there.
I know.
Obviously, you got to cut down on the turnovers. But if you're averaging, 4.5 plays a game of 17 plus yards, you can kind of hide that.
Absolutely. And that's why the 2 reasons. I mean, we have to be more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. And you heard Coach Papley say we were 15th in rush defense last year. And, I think we had a pretty significant number of plays where we gave up plus 12 runs and plus 15 passes. And if you take that and cut the turnovers, those are the 2 areas where Saturday we're going to find out a lot about our football team, because Duquesne's telling their guys the same thing. Again, they want to try to get us on our heels, and they want to put us into some bad situations to let their defense pin their ears back and try to create some turnovers and splash plays on that side. So those are going to be the 2 big areas for us on Saturday.
Airtime on the Fighting Scots Radio Network, presented by ErieInjury.com. 11 o'clock, we will have the call from the Bluff kickoff at noon. Thanks to Tony Papley. Thanks to Rich DeMaio, of course, Coach Nulph. Thanks to Craig Butler for helping out as always. Let's do it again next week. What do you say?
Absolutely. I'll see you next week. Hey, go Burrow.
At the 15, he's on his feet. 10, 5, touchdown!
The Jake Nulph Show.
Go Burrow.